Welcome back to another episode of Moms Moving On. I'm so excited because I feel like I get a ton of questions in my DMs about dating after divorce. And I'm not really the right person to ask, considering I dated one person after divorce and didn't meet on a dating app. But now we not only have a dating expert, we have Rachel DeAlto, who works for Match. Okay. She works as a relationship expert for Match. She works for Stir. I'm sure you've heard of both of these. She has a background as a lawyer. She's a master's in psychology. If there's anyone who could help you with your dating journey after divorce, it's you, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's dive right in. Let's hear about like how you got into this line of work and, just kind of became the queen of dating apps.
It's so funny. I think back to it. Oh my gosh, it's been, almost 12, 13 years now. And so I was an attorney, and then I had a startup company in the dating space that really didn't go anywhere, but it introduced me to it. And I was like, what is this? And so really recognized that there was so much out there and there were so many people out there that were looking for love. And so I started really diving into it, and then got my coaching background, and then went back to school and got my master's in psych so I could understand the background more, and just kind of led me on this road. So I've been plugging along ever since, and there's been so many iterations, but at the core, it's been pretty much the same, as that people are looking for companionship. And so if there's any way to help, I'm absolutely here for it.
Yeah, I mean, at our core, right? We're all looking for that connection with somebody that we can trust and lean on. And especially after divorce, you still want that, but now you want it and you're scared and you're fearful that you can be hurt the same way again. And I once had a client like in dating after divorce to trying to swim across the ocean with your hands tied behind your back and your head on fire. And I see it. I see it. I've been doing this 5 years. I mean, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it's interesting. It depends on, I always say it depends on how long the relationship was. Obviously, if you've been out of the dating scene for 20, 30 years, it can feel like an entirely different experience than when you first met your partner, because 20 years ago, there were no apps. It was all, you met in person, you met through a friend, you met at work, and now we're working from home. Everything's online, and you come into this and you're like, wait a second, I don't even know how to meet people, let alone what do I do when I'm on the date. So I can
We've
understand.
we've all gotten really socially awkward. Like
Yes.
we have. I couldn't imagine, honestly couldn't imagine dating right now. So I feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that way, but because I feel like at the end of the day, we all have our relationships, right? We have friendships, we have our family relationships. We know how to have a relationship. We know how to have conversations, we know how to talk to people. But I think what happens is, especially dating after divorce, dating with children, you feel there's so much more pressure, right? You're not just kind of enjoying yourself anymore. When I think back to how I was in my early 20s, it's like, whatever, there's no big deal. Well, there's so much more on the line, and there's so much more awkwardness, because you're like, well, do I talk about this? Do I talk about that? Do I tell them I have kids? Do I do all these things? And so it just makes it so much more stressful, and it doesn't have to be. And it does get easier. So if anyone's listening, they're like, my gosh, this sounds awful. I'm staying inside.
Yeah.
It does get easier. It just takes practice.
Yeah, and that's what we need to dive into because I mean, comparing dating after divorce to dating in your 20s, I feel like there's so much more room to mess up and make mistakes, and you're putting way less pressure on it. You probably don't have children, it's a whole different ball game and that much scarier after. So what are some of like the I hate to say mistakes, but mistakes people are making on the dating apps as divorced humans?
Sure. I think one of the biggest things is that there's just a really high expectation at first. And I understand having some expectations of how this could go, but I think it's really important for people when they're re entering that dating scene is to really let go of expectations. Just be open to meeting humans and figuring out, like, what am I looking for? Because oftentimes, and it depends on what someone is looking for after divorce. Have they been divorced for a while? Have they processed? Have they, gone through their healing period, and now they are looking for a relationship? Well, then it's okay. We're going to set some expectations. But more so for the people who are just starting to kind of tiptoe back into things, it doesn't have to feel so intense. You can just date to date. You can date to meet people and figure out maybe I'm still figuring out what I am looking for right now. It's something I see oftentimes where people they think they have to have it all figured out. And then they realize after they thought they had it all figured out, oh my gosh, that's not what I was looking for. And then they feel like, oh my gosh, I wasted time or emotions. And so I give people permission to just date for the sake of dating. Go meet some humans like you may have a connection with, you may not, but at least it'll teach you after this relationship, after this divorce, of how can I look at dating differently? What am I looking for? Maybe there are certain elements that I really am interested in. There's certain things that I'm not looking for, but now I'm figuring that out. So it's taking that pressure off.
For sure. And I always say, like, you get such a good opportunity after a divorce to kind of just go out there and see who you are at this phase in your life. Like, you're not the
Yeah.
20-year-olds like looking for the guy who's good on paper and like someone gonna marry me. I need a wedding. You can like sample the goods like a day at Costco, And I find
Yeah.
that a lot of people are so concerned with settling down again. Is anybody going to want me that they settle down too quickly? Do you see this too?
100%. Yeah. I think sometimes it's scary to be alone. If you've been a partner for however long you were married or partnered for, sometimes it can feel really uncomfortable to be with yourself. And so that's where that inner healing has to come. That's where that time has to pass. And so yeah, I definitely see people where they're like, no, 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 this person, this works. And then they realize
Oh, you
6
like
months
me?
later,
Okay,
yeah,
sold.
done. Okay, let's get
Down for
married. And
that.
then
Yeah.
yeah, and then we wonder why the divorce rate for second marriages is so high for so many. It doesn't have to be. It could be a perfect union if you actually took the time to be like, okay, that's what didn't work in my last marriage. This is what I need to focus on. This is how I've grown as a human. This is how I've evolved. And then you meet someone who meets you there, then things are a little bit different. So,
So talk to
yeah.
me about the dating profile, because a lot of my clients will
Yes.
ask me and I'm like, I don't know. What are how much is too much in the dating profile? Like boobs
You know,
out,
it's
like what are we doing on the dating profile? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's important to be honest and positive, especially when we talk about a lot with children. Obviously with Stir, that everybody on there is a parent, so that kind of takes it off the table. But if you're on another site, really being honest of I have children, this is what I'm looking for. This is who I am right now is so important. But to do it in a way that's positive, I think the biggest mistakes that I see is, and especially if you went through something that was very traumatic or difficult to go through, I do see a lot of profiles that say, I don't want someone who does this. I don't want this. I don't want that. And when you read it, you're like, whew, they seem like they're fun at parties. And so you really have to be
Yeah.
like, okay, what positivity am I bringing to this situation? What positive things are you looking for? And that's it. It doesn't have to be, it should not be a book. It should not be, it should not be an interrogation. It should be definitely something of like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is who I am, and these are some things that I bring to the table, and then call it a day and put some really good pictures on there. And all it's meant to do is to really start the conversation. So you're
How
not, all we're trying to do is avoid not having a conversation.
yeah. And in a day and age where we're, using filters and kind of skewing how we look on social media, like it's so available to us, we all do it. What are some do's and don'ts for the photos? I have a friend, a dating expert, Bella Gandhi. Have you heard of her? She's
I
amazing.
love
Okay.
Bella.
Yeah, who says you need
She's,
professional photos? And I'm like,
yeah.
there's probably something to that. Do you agree?
So, well, Bella does everything right. So I will never argue with Bella ever. I adore her
She's
so
our
much.
There's a reason why her last name is Gandhi.
Yes, she's just an amazing human being. But it's funny. So I, I think professional photos are great. They're not necessarily necessary for everyone. I think there's people who take a really good picture, and I think the thing that Bella realized and why that's such a requirement for her is like some people don't know how to take a good picture, right?
Mhm.
And so if we can level the playing field on that, and everybody can take a picture that shows them in the best light without using filters, because she does use professional people who would not alter an image to that extent, I get that. But there are a lot of people out there that can take a solid selfie, that you can prop your phone up and get a picture, that you can find maybe, you were climbing a mountain somewhere and someone took a photo. Like these are really interesting things that not necessarily a professional photographer would cover. But I always say, like, you want 4 to 5 pictures that show you in your best light, but show you in your best light,
Yeah.
not the AI version of you, not
Right.
every wrinkle doesn't have to go away. Like we are human beings. We're,
Right.
and the worst thing you can do is get in front of someone and have them be like, that is not you, which happens, unfortunately. It happens even not
Catfish.
in right. But I mean, how many times have you met someone in real life that you met online, whether it was professionally through like LinkedIn or Instagram or something? And I'm like, that is not the same person.
Yeah. Yeah, it does happen, unfortunately, and, like, it's something that I carry for me too, right? Like, I'm so visible on social media, and then, like, people stop me and meet me, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm sorry, I don't have makeup on," Like, it's that's the world we live in. Okay, so now
Yeah.
we've made our dating profile, we've managed our expectations, and now we're going on the first date.
Yes.
How do you not
Okay.
fuck that all up as a divorced person?
No, you're gonna be amazing. And you know what? The coolest thing, and this is something that Stir has done a lot of research in, is just how and this not necessarily for all divorced people, because not everyone divorced has children, but for people with children that they've studied, it's like they show up more confidently. And what they're looking for is having fun. And so what people are really looking for, especially divorcees, especially single parents, are people who are going to laugh with them, who are going to enjoy the time together. So rather than really focusing on like, let's get to brass tacks, let's figure out, like, I was talking to my neighbors the other day and they came to their first date and they're married happily, but they came with like questionnaires and like lists and
I
whatnot.
get
And
but you know what? When I started dating my now husband, it was such a surprise to me that I met someone so soon after my divorce, and I remember, like, right off the bat, I'm like, "I wanna get married again. I think I want more kids. Tell me where you stand on that." Like, because I was, like, not about to waste my time.
understandable.
Yeah.
Yep, that's completely understandable. And for people who know what they're looking for, I say put it all out there. But most of all, when you get to that first date, like, let's just see if you guys can have fun together. Let's see if there's anything that you can connect on. Is there a meaningful conversation that you can have? Is it awkward? So really, when I think about first dates, those are just like, it's literally just the hello. It's an extended hello. And then after that is when you get into the meatier things. But there's no issue. I mean, when on my first date with my now husband, we were both very clear that we didn't want more children. We have 4 together. We're tapped out.
Plenty, yeah.
But, so we're good. But I wanted to get married. He didn't, and that's an interesting thing too. Is that was something that he really wasn't interested in. Well, it took us a little bit longer, and I had to wait till he came around because I wasn't going to be like, "You must marry me," because ultimatums don't really go very well. That's a whole different topic of conversation.
For sure.
Um, but also, I would just suggest is maybe you are on close pages, because if I think about it with him, I'm like, if I was so dead set on getting married again, I wouldn't have seen him again, because at that point he wasn't really interested. But he wasn't interested in getting married because he didn't know me. He hadn't
Ooh,
met
that's
me yet.
right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So it's
Okay,
like,
so you
so
officially
have
are a
your
dating
list.
expert. I mean, you made magic over there.
Well, have your list, but be open for magic. Be
Yeah.
open to the possibility that things can shift and change, but not in a
And
delusional
you
way.
and you can shift
Yes,
and change. Like, I was
a
so
100%.
set on wanting more kids, and then after my husband and I settled into our relationship and blended our girls, I was like, "You know what? That was just something I thought I needed, but, like, don't necessarily want." So, the fact that you are still
Yeah.
malleable and changing and growing is important to consider too.
100%, 100%. And it happens in both directions. And so the only thing that I always caution is like, I'm sure you've heard this before, where someone's like, oh no, I can change them. I can change their
Oh,
mind.
well, that's why
That's
we all got divorced, Rachel. That's
that's not how that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about just being open to the possibility. And how I dealt with that is, I went into that situation wanting to get married again. And he was, at that point very vocal that wasn't something on the table. And I thought, well, is it this person that I want to be with, or is it the ring and the institution, and it's both, but it's more so the person. And
Mhm.
if he decided that he never wanted to get married and we're going to be like Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn for the rest of our lives, I would have rather had that than not have him. And so you got to think through all of the
Yes.
avenues here.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great thing to consider. I mean, you are very knowledgeable on this, probably why you wrote a book. Can you tell us about your book, baby?
Yes, I wrote Relatable, and it's how to connect with anyone anywhere, even if it scares you, because it can be a little scary. And it's really focused on all of, like we were talking about, the awkwardness of conversations and relationships. And whether you're looking at it from a professional, personal, or romantic standpoint, it really covers all of those three.
Wow, so professional, personal. So like if you're just weird in general about putting yourself out there. No, seriously, like,
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
I got you.
there are people
Yeah,
who could never, go to their employer and say, "I need this," or "I want that," or "Here's what's not working." And
yep.
because they're scared of how to make that connection or they don't know how. I think I mean, it's great that you cover all this ground. My goodness.
Yeah, I saw it as such a general there's such a foundation of a challenge out there that everything is built upon with whatever relationship you're looking for. And there was so much awkwardness and so much discomfort with themselves. And that's where, I think a lot of our challenges come from is that lack of confidence, that lack of feeling worth. And so how do we cover all of those things, and really allow people to feel comfortable in all of those types of relationship building?
That's really helpful. I think nothing, if you went into your marriage not feeling confident and then this person kind of broke you down or wore you down, or just the fact that you couldn't make it work, shattered your confidence or your trust in yourself. It is so much harder to find that after a divorce. I've been there. It's, nothing
Yeah.
pulls the rug out from under you, quite like realizing the thing you said yes to forever for, you couldn't figure it out. So I think that's really great. So walk us through the book. Like how is
Sure.
different chapters, like how is it structured?
Yeah, it's structured in terms I always think of there's a blueprint to being relatable and building these connections. And so the blueprint is connect, communicate, inspire. And so it's broken into those three sections. And then within those sections, I talk about kind of those different things, whether it's connect and figuring out who you are and how to be more confident, how to be more real and authentic in the situations that apply to that. How do you communicate better? How do you communicate better with your partner? How do you communicate better at work? And how do you just communicate in a way that's more received better? I think that's something a lot of times we talk the way we want to talk and we talk when we want to talk. And that is not necessarily when people are best receiving it. It's not necessarily what people need to hear. And then the inspire section is really just figuring out what lights you up,
Hmm.
and really how can you become that person that everybody is drawn to because you know who you are and what it is that really makes you want to wake up in the morning and live another amazing day. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the structure of everything.
Harnessing authenticity and communication is challenging for sure. And I imagine that's what you like get to the core of. And do you have
Yeah.
like a favorite chapter? Like what is the one for you that hits home the most?
It's funny as we were talking about it, I do love the chapter on confidence because I think it's the one that even the people that would not admit that they need it, I see a lot of, and I'm going to be stereotypical here, but a lot of men that I've talked to, they're like, I didn't realize I needed that until I read it. And
Hmm.
so, I think it's something that everybody can benefit from is like, how can you just own who you are? Like, imagine if we woke up in a world where everybody was just cool with themselves.
And had self-awareness. Oh my God.
I mean,
We'd be out of business, girlfriend,
yeah,
okay? It's okay.
exactly. I'd be fired immediately. Like, we don't need you.
That's really
But
funny.
yeah,
So
it
you're
would be pretty
okay,
awesome.
is it out yet? When does it come out?
It's been out. Yeah, that's my book's been out for a couple years now.
Oh,
So
it's
yeah,
okay, it's out. All right. I need a
yeah,
copy, clearly.
I will get you
Um,
that.
because, I think I've worked so hard on like I'm very focused on what's under my roof, like my
Hmm.
kids, my husband, we've got that communication down pat, but I'm on Zoom all day, taking yourself out into the real world. It's intimidating. And so I think this would be such a benefit. Also, would love to gift one to one of our listeners. So we should
Yes,
connect for a
absolutely.
little Instagram giveaway.
You
Um,
got it.
okay, so if you could give like one big piece of advice to anyone listening who is dipping their toe into the dating pool after divorce, what would it be?
Believe in the magic. Believe in the there is magic in love. Like, we are not meant to walk this alone. We are not. And so believing in that magic and holding out hope for that and building up, even if that hope is just a tiny little kindling, building that and holding on to that is so important because it's worth it. At the end of the day, it's all worth it to find that person.
I couldn't agree more. And I'd be lying if I said I ever believed in the magic until I saw it for myself in my now second marriage, where I feel like the best version of myself because I'm emotionally supported. Wow, that right there is magic. And everybody deserves that.
Yeah, it
So,
gives me goosebumps.
yeah. Well, it took a lot of work, Rachel. I'm not going to lie. Get the book,
I hear
everyone. Oh
you.
my God, I'm so excited for people to read this. Where can people find you? Do you like work with clients one on one?
I don't.
You don't.
Yeah, the only thing I do in person now is speaking. So I'm a keynote speaker, but that's more on the corporate side of things and connection building. But I'm accessible on social media everywhere, and through all of Match Group and Stir as well.
Well, we will for sure link all of it to everybody listening. I encourage you to check her out. All the more reason to read her book because you can't work with her one on one. So that's the closest you'll get to this magical being. Speaking of magic, for everyone listening, if you have more questions on dating or anything in the co parenting divorce space that we can be helpful with, you know where to reach us, info@momsmovingon.com. Rachel, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time on Moms Moving On.
Thank you.